Wizards of the Coast is about to use a trick play that they've used before to get players to buy Magic cards. This will all be in their quest to boost revenues by over 50% in the next couple of years. Just because your company has a good plan on paper doesn't mean when you go to execute it in reality that it's going to work out the way you intended. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here, and thanks again for hanging out with me on the channel. Wizards of the Coast probably had a whole array of plans set for us as a player base this year, a way of increasing revenue. And I mean, if everything had gone according to plan, the way they had done it, it would have been beautiful for the company. But of course, mistakes happen, errors were made, and now you have players against you. You have people angry, upset, frustrated, price-sensitive people. So how are you as a company going to continue forward making money without making things worse? Well, you drop certain points of the plan. So if you're a company that needs to generate profit and you know you have a glitch in the system, certain things can be altered and changed while other things cannot. You may have intended for a price increase. That's probably gone out the window at this point. But prices that are already set for like Dominaria Remastered, those are going to stay in place. Although they say they don't derive secondary market value to get money from those cards, they are using that as a way of gauging and choosing which cards went into Dominaria Remastered. Force of Will is not there by accident, right? So those kind of sets are going to make Wizards of the Coast money still. It's going to draw in a certain amount of players who love the world of Dominaria, like this selection of cards, or maybe players just hoping to get a few reprints and start the year off with something fun. But things get a little more tricky when you dive into something like Phyrexia, All Will Be One. They've done something they've done in the past. They've given us some fantastical creatures, and I mean crazy stuff that probably shouldn't exist. And this is what I'm talking about. When you take a look at the Elish Norn Mother of Machines, look at the price and look at the uptick. This is not a coincidence that this card is having this effect. It's the way it's been designed. The thing's a 4/7 for 5. It's a splash of white with 4 other that double triggers effects, has vigilance, and of course reduces effects on your opponents. This card is a very powerful card, and not so much in standard. There's lots of ways of getting rid of a card like this, assuming you can keep it on the battlefield longer than a heartbeat. There's also ways of bringing it back. Things like Sheoldred's Restoration will bring this card back, Dredging things, Taknuma Mire. There are lots of ways of getting this card back, but there are just as many ways of removing it and exiling it in standard, like the Wandering Mage. Repel. There's all kinds of things that can get rid of this card. So don't think of this card as a card for standard, because it's not meant for standard. It's going to be in standard, that's great, but it's not meant for that, which is why there are so many ways of getting rid of these cards. This is meant for Commander. This is meant to mess up other formats and make players see the potential, which of course drives sales. When you drive sales for people looking for these cards, that results in cracking boxes and opening products, either by stores, by players, investors, the evil 2%, whoever it may be. Those are the people you're looking at to get cards like this, because it's not normal to have a card this powerful in a set like this. Now, when we're taking a look at this card, the Phyrexian Obliterator, again, look at what this thing does. Right now, it's like, 30 something bucks. I don't care. It's going to go up. It's 4 black, that's great. But it says, whenever this thing takes damage, the opponent has to sacrifice that many permanents. Again, in standard, it's just going to be exiled. It's not going to be around the battlefield. It's not going to take damage. People aren't going to block with it. They're going to exile it. They're going to recognize this for what it is and get rid of it. But in other more well-rounded, crazy formats like Casual Commander, Kitchen Table Magic, there are so many things you can do with a card like this. There are so many ways of making this card so overly powerful that it's got to be dealt with right away. And again, this is by design. This power creep effect that Wizards wants to use right now, it is going to drive sales. It is going to bring players to the table to spend money, either on singles or, of course, on the sealed boxes, hoping to get cards like this. It's not a coincidence. Now, they had kind of a disaster last year with Double Feature. right? Double feature didn't do well. It was kind of a lazy set. Although I love the box, the idea of it, they didn't execute it well. They actually did a really poor job. Honestly, probably one of the worst things they did in 2022. And remember, it was 2022 that thing came out. Horribly done. Because everyone saw the potential for so much more. But cards like this are a reaction to what happened in early 2022. They may have known these cards were coming down the line. They may have built sets around it. But they also knew where they wanted these cards to intertwine. They don't care if they get banned later. They don't care what the Commander Rules Committee says. They want these cards to exist right now because it's going to drive sales. That's power creep. And power creep by definition is something the game uses to great effect. And here's what I mean. Power creep is a phenomenon present in any collectible game that uses both old elements and new ones. It is a gradual unbalancing of the game due to successive releases of new content. Now, one of the tasks of the play design team is to prevent power creep. R&D calls it the Etchler staircase, where they lower one aspect while raising others. So it appears like it actually keeps going up, while actually it's staying steady. And guys, that's not entirely true, but it's not exactly a lie either. It's no mistake that creatures have become more powerful in the game, but as creatures become more powerful, Wizards of the Coast has made easier ways of removing those creatures from the game. Old, powerful planeswalkers are easily removed nowadays. This is all built around the idea of the eternal staircase. And here's what I mean by that. This is the Asherian staircase, an eternal staircase with no matter how fast or how quick you climb, it goes on forever, okay? There's YouTube videos on it. You guys can check this stuff out. But this is the concept that Wizards of the Coast is using to keep power creep at a certain level. So really, as something goes up, something else is being lowered, and that's what I'm explaining. But here's the funny thing. When Wizards is trying to use a trick play like this, they're allowing the player base, the people around them, to believe these creatures are more powerful than they are, where in Standard they're not going to be. Easily dealt with. But in other parts of the game, that power creep, that unbalancing, is what leads to bannings of cards. When they did Throne of Eldraine, think of all the cards that got banned. I'm surprised Questing Beast never ended up on the ban list. That card was in every deck I played. But cards like Oko unbalanced so many areas of the game, it had to be removed. Although I personally didn't have a problem with it because I was using it a lot. So the Asherian staircase is the idea that after it's going up, 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 it goes down, down, down. And you just keep going around and around this weird kind of two-dimensional world where it never ends. And that's how their R&D department is supposed to keep things in check. But cards in Phyrexia All Will Be One may look very fair in the Standard play world. But when you start looking at all the cards that can remove these cards, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But in other formats like Commander, how many people are keeping that kind of removal in their deck? How many 5-color decks can now slide cards like that in because it's one white to get out? It is by design. The attraction players will feel for cards like this in the upcoming sets will help drive some of the sales forward. They can't alter all their plans. They can't, rechange the cards now because they're already printed and sitting in a warehouse. But they can stop from doing price increases. They can do artificial scarcity by not putting all this stuff on the shelves, by actually holding things back on purpose and making it look like these things are harder to get. So when the set comes out, it will drive those sales forward because players will have a harder time getting the cards. FOMO kicks in, that fear of missing out, and players will go after these things. It's in the nature of the hunt for some players to want to get their hands on these cards first, to play test, to experience them. Where something like a Dominaria Remastered, it's all reprints, we know it's there. Players will decide to either crack packs for fun or just go after the singles when some of the cards start to tank in price when they hit the market. But new sets entering Standard, and of course that means Modern, Commander, Pauper, going forward, new cards that have never been seen, Wizards can use those as choke points to drive the sales forward. Some players won't fall for this, some players will, and depending on how far Wizards wants to take this game, they could choke these things off and just not put them to market. They could let the initial runs go out for those stores who do order and then say, oh, we don't have anything in the warehouse, we cut production. Even if they didn't, they can say they did, make the distributors, make everyone have to wait. Drive the prices up and then slowly let it trickle out. Just like we saw with things like Time Spiral Remastered. They can make it harder than it has to be. They can play the game, and they can play it well. This kind of trick play is something they've used before, but I think they're going to base it off of new sets coming up, like Phyrexia All Will Be One. They said, okay, players don't want to buy it, they're being price sensitive, let's make it hard to get. They want collectability, let's make it hard to find. They want scarcity, it's going to be scarce. It's going to be a very interesting time, which is why when these things first come up for pre-release, you can expect most LGSs that put these for sale to be sold out. Who's not going to want that Elish Norn? The Phyrexian card. Who's not going to want those? Knowing the damage those can do in certain formats and the playability of those cards going forward, and the likelihood that Wizards probably won't print them right away. They'll wait a year or two. They'll drag things out before that special secret layer comes out that'll be $100, $110, where they can add dollar value to the bottom line for Hasbro. Be careful what you wish for, because it's coming. I can see it as plain as the writing on the wall, because they've done this sort of thing before. That staircase goes up and around and around. It's supposed to keep things in check, but when they abuse it and let the staircase only go one direction for so long, it's going to end up with a different feel. Guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me on the channel today. Can't wait to read your comments in the comments section. And you know what? It's going to happen. Take the wave and ride it in. Enjoy the cards and have fun with them. And you know what? We can play the game too. Remember that. Players are not helpless anymore. Guys, have a great day today. Thanks for tuning in and watching my channel. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thank you to all my Patreon supporters who support this channel and allow this content to be created. If it wasn't for you guys, I would not be sitting here, standing here, doing my thing every day. And of course, to the regular viewers who tune in and watch this content each and every day, giving the videos thumbs up, thanks, appreciation to all of you as well. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a great day. Hey guys, a big shout out and thank you. This is that time in the moment where I say thank you to all the fantastic patrons out there. Without you guys being out there supporting this channel, this content's not possible. Thanks again to all those who support me. Welcome back. We're here at the end. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out with me as we ramble. This is where I just gab along, don't we? If you look at the playbook of Wizards of the Coast, this is a play they've done a few times. When they need to ramp up sales and get things going, it's not unusual for a company to do stuff like this. I'm not surprised. It's kind of smart. Now, when we're going forward, don't expect the price increases. I can't see them doing it now. I think what we're going to see is more of this kind of stuff. Right? They can still make the same quantity and just trickle it out over those 2 years. Just drip drying it out, making it hard to find, and making players who do buy this stuff, make investors, collectors, think that it's harder to get than it really is supposed to be. It's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out with the players out there and who buys into it and who doesn't. How things play out over the long term. Wizards are going to have to switch things up, and I think they're going to. I just think it may happen a little bit sooner and not in the direction that people thought it was going to go. So, anyway, guys, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being here, man. You guys chill. Have a great day today, and I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. We deserve it, right? We deserve a good day, and this was definitely a good day. I played basketball with the family. I got creamed. My son, he can shoot. Mini Mox was on par today. Whew.